Hi, and welcome to Mishlei, chapter 1, verse 6. Last time we did the Aramaic to understand Mushel, Melitzah, and Chidosam, the parable, what he's saying, comparison, and the allegory, dark saying, and enigma, trap, snare. That's the Mushel, Melitzah. Sorry about the music playing there. And we're saying that maybe we want to switch. It looks like in the way that you would read this the verse, chidosam. Oh yeah, we brought the image. Sorry for that. We are trying to figure things out here. What happens when we do that? There it is. To understand a proverb and the interpretation, the words of the wise, their dark sayings. It looks like dark sayings is last, but they're saying that it's actually Melitzah. So we don't know how to read the verse. Type 1. We don't know how to read it. Do we trust the English, or do we not trust the English and read it as we would read it in Hebrew? It's a question. We don't know. We got to find out. All right. And then we say dark saying. Somehow I put here Iker term. And parable, Mushel is a Lafib Shuto. That's right. We're saying Mushel it could be Lafib Shuto. And we're saying that dark saying, Melitzah, could be an Iker term. Right? These are all kind of questions that we got to figure out. We got to figure these things out. All right. Now, we did the Aramaic. Let's go back to Rashi. And Lahavin, Mushel, and Melitzah. And then we're going to have Divrei Chachami V'chidosam. All right, so we got some Rashi here to do. Sheyitnu leiv lahavin b'mikros. You got to pay attention to split hairs and really understand in the verses. Shnei hadrachim hamash. There's two ways of understanding psukim, verses. Type 1. Very interesting. When you read scripture, hello, type 1, hello, type 1, hello. When you read scripture, is it a mushel or is it Melitzah? And Jacques, this would go pretty good if it is Lafib Shuto and Iker terms, wouldn't it? It would go really good. Lahavin, Mushel, and Melitzah, kind of like the prophetic and the rabbinic. That's what it's looking like. Let's see if that's true. Right, so like Svei Dinim even. And then Divrei Chachami V'chidosam. So let's see now. Two ways, Mushel and Melitzah. She'avinu esma hamshil leMelitzah, that we understand what is parabled. That's the word Mushel. Parable, Lafib Shuto, witty saying, comparison to the Melitzah, to the allegory. How does that work? I remember this from my studies in the past. It's parable and allegory. So once upon a time, there was a turtle, and the turtle crawled very slow, and the rabbit won the race. Type 1. That's my parable, type 1. And therefore, I'm showing you an allegory that sometimes the slow guy wins the race. Did you like did you understand my allegory, and did you enjoy my parable? Did you enjoy my parable, and did you get my allegory? So the mushel and the allegory, you call it the mushel and the nimshel. Okay, let's go with that. Let's see if that works. And then if we say Lafib Shuto, Goy that learns Torah is Chayav Misa, Jacques. That's the mushel. And the Melitzah is that you can't steal Torah, so you're liable by the hands of heaven. Type 1. Sheyitnu leiv lahavin b'mikros shnei hadrachim. So there's the pshat, and then there's the sod. There's the Lefip Shuto, Jacques, and then there's the story behind it, Justin. Type 1, guys. Shnei Drachim Mushel Melitzah Shavino Es Ma Hamshil Melitzah Ba'af Min HaMelitzah Ba'af Min HaMelitzah Lo Yasuro Libam Shagam Hi Tzrichim Lavin Kasha Amar La Hatzilech Meisha Zara V'Nachriya Al Hevle Mitzrayim or Mitzrayim, one of the two. Nemar Hari Hamashal Ba'af Melitzah Shiyotzim. Oh, harsh. This is harsh. Justin, do you have a version of the Rashi there to help us out in English? Va'af Min Melitzah Lo Yasuru Liba. Okay, so the allegory. So the goy who learns Torah, it's like he's stealing it, right? That's our allegory. Don't go away from that. So we're not talking Lefip Shuto that he's chayav misa. We're saying that it's stealing. It's an allegorical stealing. He didn't physically steal it. There we go. Shigam hi tzrichim lahavin kisha'amar lehatzilech meisha zara v'nachriya al hevle. What is that? Hevle. Hold on. To save you from a strange woman and a foreign one. Yeah. Idolatry is meant. Al-Hevle. I don't know. That's not a very good translation there. Sorry to tell you. That is not a good translation. Or maybe it is. Wait. No, I'm not too impressed. So I got to figure this out then. Lavin Kishamar Hatzilech, to save you, right? To save you from an idolatrous woman, Al Hevle Mitzrayim. I think like the vanities of like the conceptual Egypt, right? Like going out of Egypt, the taivas of the world and things like that. Ne'amar. Exactly. Right, the idolatrous woman is your cravings and desires, type 1. So it's not literal, it's the allegory, and she's brought as a parable, but the allegory stays. Hari HaMushel, Nemar Hari HaMushel, right? She's like an idolatrous woman. But Afa Melitzah Shahotzi Mushel. Afa Melitzah that goes out from the Mushel, the Lushin Isha, Havin Ba v'Hizahar Isha Zara. Arim HaMushel v'Afa Melitzah Shahitzi Mushlo, the Lushin Isha, Havin Ba v'Hizahar. Lo Yasuru Libam Shagam Hi Tzrichim Lavin Kashamar Lezilem Isha Zara, v'Nachriya Al Hevli Mitzrayim Nemar Hari HaMushel. Wait. Afmin Melitzah Lo Yasuru Libam Shagam Hi Tzrichim Lavin Kasha'amar Letilech Meisha Zar V'Nachriya Al Hevli Mitzrayim Nemar Hari HaMushel V'Afam Melitzah Shahitzi Mushlo V'Lashi Isha Havin Ba V'Zehir Meisha Zara. Yeah, right. The two ways you're talking about, right? Exactly. So it's either an analogy, an allegory, or it's literal. It's literally. And we say no verse goes out according to the Pshuto. That's a famous dictum in the Talmud. Right there, you really need to stay away from an idolatrous woman, and we're comparing desires to an idolatrous woman. So there's your Mushel and Melitzah. So the Melitzah doesn't necessarily need the Mushel, and the Mushel doesn't necessarily need the Melitzah, and the Mushel it can be with the Melitzah. Divrei Chachamim Dorshe Reshimis Mikre Male V'Choser Remez Dimyan V'Chida. What does that mean, Justin Becker? Dorshe Reshimis Mikra. We take all kind of different perspectives from the verse. Rashimus Mikra Mole. The Chaser Remiz Dimian Dorshe Rashimus. No, the rabbis are Dorshe. They are interpreters. The rabbis are nothing more than the rabbi's words. The rabbi's words are interpretations that they get from looking at the verse in full. The Chaser Remez Dimian V'chida. Chaser Remez. V'chida. Chida, we said, is an enigma, a trap, a snare. So Dorshi Rashimus Mikra Maleh. The Chaser Remez Dimian V'chida. That's a hard one. What do you got for that, Justin? You got that last part, Rashi? The words of the sages, blah, 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 are enigmatic. Words of the wise and their riddles, those who interpret the Torah metaphorically, that's the rabbis, full verses and elliptical ones, allusions. Divrei Chachamim V'chidosam. The rabbis interpret the verses. Yeah, full verses, the chaser, and missing verses, missing hints. How do you say that? Full and elliptical ones, allusions, comparisons, and riddles. Right. Remez, Dimian, and V'chida. What's he saying there? He said English is missing stuff. What does Rashi mean? And their riddles. Those who interpret the Torah metaphorically, right? Drasha, Darshei Rashimus Mikra Maleh, and their riddles. Those who interpret the rabbis understand. Got it. You guys with me? Type 1. The rabbis know how to unravel Scripture, right? They know the wisdom of Scripture. So they extrapolate and metaphorically explain the impressions from Scripture in full. Now, when he said those who interpret the Torah metaphorically, full verses and elliptical ones. Maleh v'chaser, there it is. Right. Full verses and limited verses, and their words are explaining the full verse, the not full verse. They'll give you the hint of what it's saying. They'll give you the allusions and what do you call that? Comparisons and riddles. So the rabbis' words are riddle-like in order to understand the wisdom of the verse. Because see, you don't know how to read the verse. Type 1. And you're going to want to read it literally, Justin Becker, a goy that learns Torah is Chayav Misa. And because you think it's literal, you don't know how to read the Iker term, Jacques, of the Lefi Pshuto. Type 1. So the rabbi's words become riddles in order to get your head on straight that it's not literal, it's Mushel and Melitzah in the verses themselves. And then the rabbi's words become riddles only because you don't understand the pshat. So when you understand the Inyan, then you understand the words of the rabbis. That means you have to have understanding. Okay. All right, that's Rashi. We did the Aramaic. Lavim, Mushel, Melitzah, Mitzudas David, and we got Mitzudas Sion. And then we're going to have the Robag. And then we're going to have the Even Ezra. And then we're going to have the Malbim. All right, let's stop because this was probably the hardest class of all in terms of this verse because Rashi was just not easy. But we needed Rashi to kick up the dirt, type 1. So, yeah, we know what it means because we did the Aramaic first. Remember that, type 1. But then we went back into Rashi, and Rashi is telling us the Lefi Pshuto of it, which would be very interesting to see where Rashi got this from. But nonetheless, Rashi introduced us to the rest of the verses. Justin Becker, please write this down. I'll write it down too. Next class, I'm going to do a really stupid thing. I'm going to write turn page over. Note to self. And we're going to do next class, do Mitsudat David Sion Robag Evan Ezra Malbim. And then compare to the Aramaic, then compare and look up English. All right, you guys see the class? You see where we're going to be for a while? Yes or no? 1, 2. This is where we're going to be for a good while. And then the Vilna Gaon says this is the end of the book. The first 6 verses are the introduction to Mishlei. Verse 7 is where the book actually starts. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? All right. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for Mazel. Take a short break after a word from our sponsors.